Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content, subscribe, and turn on notifications.
Cole stared at his phone for several minutes, his hands sweating, his heart pounding. From the mountain house, where he was seeking answers to his own anguish, he finally decided to call Amanda. She answered with a tired voice, but he didn't waste time with small talk. He said, without hesitation, that he wanted a separation, that he knew everything. Amanda stayed silent. The weight of those words fell between them like a stone. Before she could even ask, everything about what, Cole continued, saying it was pointless to deny. He knew about Derek Simmons, knew about the meetings outside work, the extended hours, every detail. All that remained was to accept the truth. On the other side of the line, Amanda tried to grasp the depth of the abyss opening between them. Cole, feeling his own voice tremble, explained he hadn't jumped to conclusions. That this wasn't just insecurity or fear of losing someone driving him. To be sure, he had hired a private investigator, someone discreet and experienced who knew how to record every step without leaving traces. The detective followed Amanda for weeks. Took photos, recorded videos, noted conversations and times. When Cole received that envelope with the evidence, he spent hours unable to open it. He kept it in the drawer as if he could delay the inevitable. But by nightfall, the weight became unbearable. As the call continued, Cole remembered how everything started. At first, he thought the distance was just a phase. Amanda would say her job at the bank was demanding, that the meetings were endless, that she barely had time to breathe. But it wasn't just that. Her affection turned into routine, her gestures became automatic, her gaze always distant. He noticed every change, her rush to leave the house, the messages she received and hid, the forced smile when he tried to start a conversation. Amanda's excuses came every week, always accompanied by impatience, as if he were an obstacle to be navigated. Cole began living in doubt, his thoughts getting tangled with each new sign. He tried to convince himself it was all in his head, but time only made things clearer. Until, with no escape, he sought help from outside. He found the detective through a friend's recommendation. Explained he didn't want revenge, just the truth. During the following weeks, he received cold, objective reports. Amanda and Derek together at a quiet cafe, Amanda entering her boss's car late at night, long conversations in empty parking lots. The detective was meticulous, dates, times, images, audio files. Each file felt like another nail sealing Cole's doubts shut. The memory of the first night he slept in the mountain house came back strong. He wanted distance from the chaos. He wanted a place where he could think. There, far from everything, he opened the envelope and saw it all with his own eyes. The photos, the videos, the messages, impossible to question. That night was one of the longest of Cole's life. He felt anger, humiliation, sadness, and above all, the end of hope. During the call, Amanda tried to explain herself, but Cole cut her off. He said he didn't want more lies, no more justifications. He wanted peace. The separation was inevitable, the cycle needed to end. And there, on that call between two people who once meant everything to each other, Cole realized that despite being broken, he had made the only choice possible. On the other end, Amanda remained silent. Cole only heard her breathing, that soft sound carrying the weight of years. No words, no protest, not even an apology or explanation. Just silence, thick and almost suffocating, spreading between them. Cole waited a few seconds, trying to guess what was going through her mind, but Amanda stayed quiet. It was as if all the answers had already run out, as if everything had been said long before that call. He felt a tightness in his chest, an odd emptiness because deep down he still hoped to hear something, anything that could give meaning to what they were living. But he only heard silence. Cole then took a deep breath, adjusted his voice, and said bluntly he would return home in a few days and they would talk in person. Before Amanda could say anything, he hung up. After hanging up, Cole stood still, staring into nothingness, his mind spinning between past and present. An old memory surfaced, as if emerging to make sense in that exact moment. At the beginning of their relationship, over 20 years ago, he had also found himself involved in a complicated situation. Back then, Amanda was dating another guy, and Cole, knowing that, accepted being the other man, believing it wouldn't last long. But feelings grew quickly. It wasn't long before he confronted Amanda, asking for the truth about her previous relationship. Amanda confessed she was already ending things, said she no longer felt anything for the other guy and that she wanted to be with Cole. A few days later, she officially broke up and devoted herself completely to the new love. That beginning full of risks, passion, and promises of commitment led to a solid story marked by honest choices, shared achievements, and many fresh starts. For 20 years, Cole and Amanda built a life, believing they had overcome every challenge. It was as if nothing could shake what they had created together. But now, with the phone still in his hand and the last call echoing in his mind, Cole realized some stories only seem solid until the truth, unavoidable and undeniable, surfaces. With the call ended, Cole felt his heart sink, but he knew what he had to do. He grabbed the envelope with the evidence, the printed photos, the detailed reports, all of it irrefutable. He sat in front of the computer, scanned each image, reviewed the detective's files, carefully checked each document. There was no doubt left, no room for excuses or justifications. It was a collection of raw truths, the kind that destroys any illusion of protection. He organized the evidence, wrote a short and direct email with no fluff or gentle words. He sent the first one to Derek Simmons' wife, using contact information the detective had obtained. He wrote the message without cruelty, without a tone of vengeance, simply making it clear she deserved to know what was happening around her, with the person she shared her life with. Then, he took a deep breath, opened another email, this time addressed to the bank's HR department and 2 directors. He selected the evidence, attached each photo and video, and wrote a few lines explaining he was sending the information out of duty to honesty and respect for the truth, with no intention of public exposure, but believing certain matters should reach the attention of those leading a company of that stature. With each click, the weight of the decision increased, but there was no room for hesitation anymore. He knew the impact these proofs would have. This wasn't just the end of a marriage, it was the beginning of an irreversible process for Amanda and Derek. Sending the evidence meant handing over their fate to people who would judge, decide, perhaps punish. Cole wasn't seeking revenge, he was seeking dignity, doing what he believed was right, even knowing this act wouldn't erase the pain, only close a chapter of lies. He finished attaching everything, reread each message, confirmed the addresses, and pressed send. It felt as if that single click held the power to change several lives at once. Hours later, late at night, Cole's phone rang again. On the screen, Amanda's name. He felt his stomach twist, but he answered. On the other end, her voice carried desperation, the kind of panic that dismantles any mask. Without hiding it, Amanda went straight to the point. She accused Cole of crossing every limit, asked how he had the courage to send the evidence to the company. Her voice cracked, her words came rushed, mixed with indignation bordering on tears. She said that because of this, both of them could lose their jobs, see their lives collapse in just a few hours, and that this was cruel, unthinkable, unfair. Cole listened to every word, waited for the right moment, and calmly explained that this truth needed to be faced, that she and Derek chose to live this way, knowing the risks, and that every decision has consequences. When Amanda tried to argue, he interrupted, saying he had also sent the evidence to Derek's wife, that she too had the right to know. At that moment, silence filled the call, but it was different from the previous one. It was the silence of terror, of free fall, that moment when the world collapses and words simply vanish. On the other end, Amanda stopped speaking, as if the air had vanished from her lungs. Cole only heard the background noise of the call, time dragging between them. It was as if Amanda had been hit by a truth she believed she could hide until now. He felt the impact of all this not only on her but on himself. It was impossible to predict what would come after that night. He knew that from that moment on, nothing would ever be the same again. Still, he held the phone firmly, keeping his voice steady, while the silence on the other end revealed a fear that would never be forgotten. 2 days after the last call, Cole returned home. He entered quietly, smelled the familiar scent, but the energy was different. Amanda wasn't there. He walked through the rooms without hurry, picked up some clothes, separated documents, personal items he needed to start over. The weight of emptiness was real, but there was no space for mourning. Cole focused his strength on what truly mattered, his children. They were in the living room, looking at him with that mix of curiosity and fear only kids have when they sense something changed, even without understanding all the details. Cole knelt to get to their level, looked each one in the eye, and in a firm voice, explained what was about to happen. He said he and Amanda had decided to separate, that things between them had changed and that this had nothing to do with the love for their children. He made it clear he would always be present, always nearby, but for now, he would stay in the mountain house until the divorce settled. The kids asked questions, wanting to understand why, asking if their mom would leave too, if they would still see everyone together sometimes. Cole held their hands, promised he would never abandon them, repeated that a father's love doesn't change. It was a delicate moment, requiring absolute care, and he worked hard to convey security, even with a broken heart. While Cole lived this intense dialogue with his children, Amanda was elsewhere, facing a different confrontation. Sitting in a meeting room, she faced the bank's board. She could barely breathe from nerves. Derek was on the opposite side of the table, but he looked like a defeated man. The night before, his wife had kicked him out, made it very clear how much she despised him for everything that happened. For Derek, that meeting only confirmed the destruction that started at home. He barely spoke, didn't try to defend himself. Amanda, on the other hand, found herself surrounded by questions, needing to explain situations she previously thought no one would ever discover. She knew her job was at risk, felt the ground disappear beneath her feet with every answer. The board didn't accept excuses. Soon enough, she and Derek received the news: they were fired. They lost their jobs, lost their foundation, and suddenly, everything they thought was secret became public ruin. By late afternoon, Cole finished packing. He didn't wait for Amanda to return. He preferred to avoid any confrontation, didn't want endless discussions, didn't want to relive old wounds. He hugged his children, kissed each one deeply, and left. He walked out the door without looking back, knowing that chapter was behind him, even though the pain insisted on staying. Later, Amanda arrived home. The kids greeted her in the living room. She tried to smile, but her face showed signs of exhaustion. They told her dad had been there, picked up some clothes, talked a lot. Amanda felt a chill in her stomach. She asked, hiding her fear, what Cole had told them. She asked if Dad showed them anything, if he mentioned the reason for the separation. From the kids, she only heard that Dad talked about the divorce, promised to stay close, but didn't explain why. Relief washed over Amanda. She realized that, despite everything, Cole had protected the kids, spared them the harsh truth. Unable to hide her emotion, Amanda called Cole that night. On the other end, her voice came out tired, almost a whisper. She said she had been fired from the bank along with Derek, that everything collapsed, but thanked Cole for not exposing the truth to the children. Her gratitude at that moment mixed shame and relief, like recognizing a human gesture amid chaos. Weeks passed like a book that no longer needed to be read in a hurry. The divorce was finalized peacefully, without fights, without long court sessions, only with the certainty that this chapter had ended. Cole kept the mountain house, which for him was more than just a practical solution, it was a blessing. Since he had worked remotely for years, isolation became freedom. He spent his days writing reports, attending video meetings, taking care of his meals and his mind. With time, that place, once chosen as a refuge from pain, became a space for rebuilding. He rearranged furniture, installed new paintings, renovated the office. He created a calm, stable, quiet routine. The mountain embraced him like an old friend who had been waiting for him for a long time. Amanda kept the city house, the place where the kids were used to living, and she got custody. It was the most reasonable, the most comfortable arrangement for the children, who were still trying to understand why their dad now slept far away. But Cole never drifted away. 3 times a week, he would show up, picking up the kids for dinner, for a walk in the park, or simply to watch them play video games. He made sure to keep the bond strong. He created new rituals with them, small moments compensating for any physical distance. He took the older son swimming. The younger daughter loved cooking with him. They laughed together, told stories, talked about school and movies. Over time, the kids got used to the new reality, and Cole, although missing the old home, came to accept this format as the best he could offer at that moment. During one of these visits, while the kids got ready in their room, Amanda called Cole to the kitchen. She was nervous but determined. She asked him to listen for a minute. She said sincerely she deeply regretted everything that happened. She said, with time, she realized how much she had destroyed something real. She looked him in the eyes and said that if someday he wanted to, if he ever missed her, the house would be open. That he was still part of all of this, and that maybe, someday, the path would bring them back together. Cole listened respectfully. He didn't interrupt, didn't look away. When she finished, he responded with the calmness of someone who had already made peace with his own destiny. He said he had great affection for her, recognized the importance of the history they shared, but from that moment on, she was simply the mother of his children. And that was enough. He said, without bitterness, that he had no intention of returning. He was at peace. Amanda nodded with her eyes, holding back emotion. She realized that although she wanted to turn back time, he had already moved forward in a different direction. A few weeks later, on an ordinary day, Amanda received an unexpected message. It was from Derek. He had landed a new job in another city, a more discreet position but stable. He wanted to start over and asked if Amanda wouldn't like to work with him, if she'd like to try a new professional partnership. Amanda declined firmly. She said she already had a job, working at a local company with a contact, close to home, with flexible hours. She was slowly rebuilding herself, step by step, without repeating past mistakes. Derek didn't insist. It was clear that whatever connection they once had was gone. What once seemed exciting now was only an embarrassing reminder. And life went on. Over time, Cole smiled more often. His pains gave way to calm. He took care of his health, read more, walked through the forest, learned to cook new dishes, and started playing guitar again on Saturday nights. His children remained his priority. He watched them grow with pride. And even with everything left behind, he learned to be grateful. Because sometimes, losing something isn't the end. It's the beginning of what really needed to exist.
Suspicious of your wife or daughter-in-law? Don't go through what we saw in the video. Check the link in the comments and get the ebook with valuable tips and investigator-approved sites to clear your doubts.
Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next time.